Hey everybody, welcome to episode 34 of Making It. This is Bob Clagett here with Jimmy Diresta and David Picciuto. How's it going, guys?
Very good. Hi, guys.
Good. Took us a while to get this show rolling because of technical stuff, but now we sound good and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
So, before we get rolling, I want to thank Luis Gonzalez, Jeremy White, and Juan Vargas. Those guys and everybody else at Patreon who support the show are awesome, and we're really grateful for the support. Thanks for sharing the show around. There's been a lot of tweeting about the show and good comments and stuff from people lately. It's really awesome. So
yeah, it's nice to see when people post it on Facebook. So thank you all for that.
Yes. Yeah, it's great to hear people in it and getting something out of it.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. So let's get into it. What are we working on?
I am working on a coffee table where the top will lift up and come towards you so you can eat off of it or...
Oh, yeah, that cool hardware.
Yeah, you put your laptop on it. And I'm making that out of walnut plywood. And it's got an aluminum base where I'm soldering the aluminum pieces together. It's my first time doing that. And so it's fun. It's almost done. It should be out on Monday, I think.
Sweet.
Very cool. I'm working on my vampire spike table. I didn't decide to call it that till after I posted the picture on Instagram, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, cool, they look like vampire spikes. So that's what I keep calling it, the vampire spike table. And that was really just that started out as an experiment on my new lathe, playing with the tapering jig. And so I envisioned the table with these big aluminum legs poking through. And then while I was working on it, I came up with the idea of hammering the tops so they look like spikes that have been used over and over. So,
is the hole tapered in the wood as well?
You notice one of the pictures, the legs are only tapered about 2/3 of the way, and then that last third stays exactly 2 inches. And so that's the majority of what will be stuck through the tabletop.
Gotcha.
And then today I just started my make video, which is a little late, but hopefully I'll be able to get it in for tomorrow. It's a draw knife restoration, and I just Instagrammed a picture of that. So that's going to be fun too. An old draw knife I bought at the antique sale I went to a couple weeks ago.
Are you having to do a lot of work on the metal, or is it mostly just... I saw you turning the handles.
Yeah, just cleaning it up. The metal, I mean, it makes a nice transformation because it kind of had like paint on it and stuff. An interesting fact is I thought it was hand forged because it's got the kind of hammer marks in it and stuff and a couple of grind marks in it. But when I cleaned it all off, it's made by Petco. And it's a company that makes metal and woodworking tools. So I didn't see that tooling mark until after I cleaned it. So it's actually a manufactured piece, probably from about 50 years ago. So it's fun. I'm cleaned it up. I got it nice back to silver again. I'm going to sharpen it, and I plan on trying to shave with it. So
sweet.
Shave my mustache off on camera.
Yes.
It'd be awesome if it was like 3 feet wide. This is like gigantic, and you're trying to shave your mustache.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. It's about 18 inches wide. I'm just gonna hold both handles and shave my mustache off. I hope it slip and cut the end of my nose off.
That'd be bad.
Be a good video.
It would ruin your YouTube presence from now on. Yeah. The dude with no nose.
Oh God. God forbid. God forbid. God forbid.
Well, I've been working on a ring light for a GoPro. So
you sent me the picture of that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It was like the first project that I have 3D modeled something specifically for 3D printing, and that's always been like the big gap in my mind about 3D printing is like you have a need, and then to get to the actual finished thing is like that modeling process, and it was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So it was pretty cool, modeling around some real world.
You can have a rheostat so you could dial the lights up and down.
Yeah, it's got a little potentiometer on the side so you can dim it and.
Very cool.
It could be expanded to, like you could change the color of the LEDs and all that. But,
cool. What is it running off? What kind of voltage?
It's 5 volts. Yeah, so it doesn't take much. And they are crazy bright. The LEDs are really bright.
Are they those little tiny flat squares that you get from like Bidage?
Yeah, I'm actually using from Adafruit, which is up there near you. They have a NeoPixel ring, and it's like 12 of these RGB LEDs on a little perf board ring. And I had it on my desk and just realized all of a sudden that it happened to fit perfectly around the GoPro lens. Like,
oh, wow.
Perfectly. I was just fiddling with them on my desk. And then I was like, oh, I need to make this into a thing, so.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it worked out. And
does the whole housing accept the GoPro? Does it like the GoPro snaps into it and everything else?
Well, it's tight enough that it fits right around the lens.
Oh,
and
cool. So
there's like a tension fit there. So it just holds onto it. But, the next version of it, I'll probably extend the 3D printed piece to actually carry the camera a little more. And to put more of a case around the electronics. Right now, it's all kind of exposed, so you can see it, and to make for an interesting video.
Very
but it would get wet and stuff if you were to use it.
Yeah,
in the field.
There's a commercial for some fitness company that runs in between or runs on Hulu television shows. And I don't remember the name of the fitness company, but it's really, really obvious that they have the ring light around the lens of the camera because everybody's eyes has this like weird white circle.
Yeah. They get that's the catch light is a ring light.
Yeah, and it drives me nuts. Like I just cannot even pay attention to what they're saying because their eyes look so evil.
Huh. Yeah, that would make it hard to pay attention to somebody. So that's what I'm working on, and I'm already ahead on some other stuff. So I'm working on other videos for next week and the week after and stuff. But
very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
so,
what do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
I don't know.
Oh, is that my job to introduce?
Sure.
Sorry, I forgot. Well, we have a special guest today. We have David Welder. David, say hi.
Hello.
David has been working with me in the shop for, has it been about 7 or 8 years?
Going on about 9.
Yeah, it's been, well, you know how I remember, and I just forgot to remember, but I remember because we met when I was 40, the year I turned 40, and now I'm 48, so that's how long we've known each other. And David, you have an up-and-coming YouTube channel?
Yeah, I started about 7 months ago. I actually created it. I think around 3 years ago, I put up maybe 3 videos, just with no direction, random things, but got very serious. Sort of got the taste for blood. After the first 2 videos, it was exciting. I love the whole community of makers and just the open source of knowledge and help and ideas and ways of thinking. The input comments, the trolls, it's all pretty much good stuff.
Dave is the troll, by the way, in case anybody was curious. In my last table saw video, Dave is actually the troll, Mr. Trollman. So some people like that. Some people hated it, but about 95% of the people liked it. So we got to figure out how to get him in the next tips video.
Nice.
Somehow. So
did that bring out more trolls?
No, well, it brought out I always have the cat trolls that say, like, enough with the cat already. Get rid of the cat. I'm here to see knowledge, So I'm like, well, I'm one of, like, 600 billion videos on YouTube. You got plenty to choose from. And a couple of people, like, the troll is just stupid. But it really was only just, like, maybe out of all the comments that I seem to have read, maybe 5 to 7 negative ones. Mostly everyone was good. Really good reaction.
Yeah, a lot of people understood it, I think. If you're around for a little while and you watch and pay attention to the comments, you totally get the sensibility that we were kind of dealing with, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And we have good improvements for the Mr. Troll coming up in the next couple of videos, but we're not going to overdo them. But we have Dave and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about creativity. Dave and I always brainstorm from a point of view of like just being silly. And we just goof around in the shop, and then all of a sudden, like a light bulb goes off over our head after we're done laughing, and we're like,
and there's 2 cat paws like making a sign.
Yeah. That's a good example I've used.
This is a question for both of you. Do you find that you are more creative when you guys are together and you can bounce ideas off of each other?
I think we always come up with good ideas together, and then alone. Dave will come in like with a fire under his butt, and he's like running around the shop, and I'm like, he like found something really cool in the garbage. Or like he'll call me, like he will have left the shop earlier than me, and I get there later and he's like, don't throw away the red umbrella.
That's true.
He knows I get into like cleaning fits, and he's like, don't throw away the red umbrella. I need that. And there's like a crumpled up umbrella in the corner. It looks like somebody beat it up. And he made a beautiful video. I think one of your best videos is the umbrella.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that is an awesome one. Definitely. So, David, give us, I think if anybody's been listening for a while, they probably know the story, but give us the kind of short version of how you ended up in Jimmy's shop.
Well, I attended the same school. We actually took the same program at the School of Visual Arts.
Yeah. 20 years apart.
Yeah, and then I unknowingly signed up for his class and knew him. I knew that I was signing up for the class, but Jimmy was giving his rundown of his background, and I recognized
on the first day of class
his TV show, Trash to Cash. He was talking briefly about that, and I watched and loved that show.
Can I cut in? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I vaguely remember, and this is 8 years ago, I vaguely remember while I was talking about my stuff in class, you like, whoa,
Yeah.
You're the guy.
Yeah.
Did you do something like that?
Yeah. No, I made the connection. And
as I was talking, and he's like, "You're the guy on that TV show."
I loved it. It was so great. Because that was around like Junkyard Wars and before things got really settled into just useless drama, and it was more build oriented. And so, anyhow, so I was there, and we became pals, and I offered to come to the shop. I said I'm pretty good with a broom, and I'd like to hang around and learn stuff. And then Jimmy had seen that I had a given skill set already, and after a little while offered to pay me to like hang around and be useful. So here we are.
Yeah, and that was a while ago. And Dave's come and gone a few times. He's gone. And talk a little bit about your dad's shop and how, when you were coming up.
Well, a lot of these things, these skills that I've been doing since I was a wee lad, because my father owned a construction business, and within that business did a lot of different work. And then we built our own house, then moved into an old Victorian and completely restored it. So there were all these things, when I was just like a young teenager and I just wanted to go build forts in the woods and skateboard and play with fire. And I then also had to help on the weekends. We had chores and litter patrol and all these things to do. So anyhow, it was a bit of a drag. And then moving to the city, I found this program where I could utilize these things in a creative fashion, which really...
So your dad forced you to build things, and he forced you to
Well, yeah, I was pulling nails, when I was, I don't know, just a boy. So it's been around, and it was just something that was... that was mandatory and so less desirable,
We joke around. Dave and I both always have a joke because Dave's dad was a little bit volatile and so was mine. And so we have this joke, like when we invite someone new to the shop, the big test is we always kind of passively wait and see how they wrap up the cord to the compressor. And if they do a horrible job, we know that they didn't grow up getting screamed at to do things a certain way.
Well, that's
the right way.
That's funny because that was something he saw me do. Just twist the knots out of it.
Or I have an old air compressor hose. It's probably 20 years old, but it's manufactured with that loop, like a telephone cord. And if you don't wrap it up in that same loop, it does whatever it wants in a complete haywire. It looks like a clock spring that's been popped out of a clock. And if you don't wrap the compressor cord up right, or the compressor hose, it looks like that. And so some people we have interns and stuff, and we'll look back and be like, who wrapped up the cord? I did. Why is there something wrong? I'm like, yeah, it's totally wrong. Take it out, stretch it 25 feet, and let it naturally loop the way it's supposed to loop.
That's funny. That's like a guitar player thing too, because anybody who's had to pack in guitar chords, they know how to do that little twist as you're as you're putting it over. So
bloop, 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 bloop. They all the loops fall on top of one another. It's exactly what some people don't do with the extension cord. With the hose and extension cords is another test. So in and around the shop, when people come and go, and we're on a job site and we watch other teams making things, and we look at their toolkit and we see the extension cord looks like a bird's nest, a tumbleweed, and it's got 4 joins in it because they've cut it with the circular saw. So it's got twisty knots. It's got wire nuts on it,
pigtails.
Yeah. So Dave and I always, we're always very conscientious of those type of things, and that's why I think that's why we hit it off early on, is because Dave
we fell into a groove.
Yeah,
and
my dad screamed at me too. We were like, "Oh yeah, your dad screamed at you too." Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, a good line from my dad was, if I ever do anything that's interesting one day and write a book, I think I'll title it something like, "I want you to want to rake the leaves." That was one of his big lines,
Which is so funny, because when he told me that, whatever, 7 or 8 years ago, I cracked up laughing because it's exactly the same thing. My dad, I'd be like, "Dad, hey, I'm going to go drink beers in the schoolyard, behind your back and smoke cigarettes." And he's like, no, you have to stay here and clean the garage. I'm like, it's Friday night, I'm 16, and I'm supposed to go drink beers in the schoolyard. No, we have to take everything out of the garage, reorganize the garage, and put it all back right now. I'm like, no, but I have to. And then I'd be in the garage looking down the garage, down the driveway, and I'd see my friends, they'd sneak by with a brown bag, we got the beer. come on, let's go. I'm like, I have to sweep. I can't go until like 2 hours from now. We kind of bonded on that.
So yeah, it's funny because I'm very, very close with my dad and really fortunate. He's amazing. He's an incredible engineer and craftsman himself. And now being older, I understand a lot of these things, that he was trying to drive home. And like I said, I can now utilize this skill set that I think is critical. And then I'm incredibly fortunate to have, and when like a couple years ago, I moved back upstate and, I did a couple of kitchens and bathrooms. And so I have a pretty decent knowledge of more practical work too, plumbing and electrical and things like that, so I appreciate it now. And these are things that will always be needed. People always need to eat and defecate. So
they have the plumbing going, you think?
Yes. So it's
like a coffin maker is never short on business.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. Well, all right. So let's talk about how you got started on YouTube and like where and how that happened around like what Jimmy was doing and all that. I'm really curious about how that kind of.
I think the bug kind of started with both of us. Dave worked on my last TV show. Dave was one of like the behind the scenes guys on Dirty Money.
Cool.
So he actually was on camera a couple times too. So when we did Dirty Money, right after Dirty Money, I started doing YouTube.
Yeah, and we
Dave
had
immediately
couple flip cams.
Yeah, Dave jumped right in, and we just started making a couple of my first early videos were shot and edited by Dave when he was around, and then he'd go away for a couple of days, and then I'd shoot a couple of videos on my own, and we'd come back and forth. And you didn't really catch the bug until when? Like when you really wanted to just start doing your own things. When did you really get the bug?
About 7 months ago, when after the saw blade knife video, that was kind of the first one that set it off. And watching you guys and seeing that it's possible and getting inspired, I think that's one of the huge things about this whole community. And now I'm even receiving emails from people all over the world and about just people being, whether they're entertained or inspired.
How many subscribers you got now?
Almost 27,000.
Wow.
Nice.
It's fairly well received. But just that exchange, is fantastic. And that's actually that's how I got started pounding copper. I watched someone raise a vessel in their garage, just this like single take 5-minute video. But the information was all there. And I went at it, took a whack at it, and was like, after a few passes, I was off, and that fire was lit. So it's very, I'm pretty fond of that, and so that sparked the motivation. And I've always, my dad is like the dumpster whisperer, if you will, or he just has this incredible sense for garbage. For example, years and years ago when he was actually still living at home, his older sister had just started driving. She forgot to put the car in park, and the car rolled into the garage door, totally destroyed it. And within like a day or two, he came back, found the perfect door that fit and everything, and replaced it. Found it on the side of the road, fixed the garage door, and
awesome.
Made it all right. Yeah, so this thing, these things were embarrassing. Like on the way to school, he'd pull over and find this beautiful cast propane stove. I remember just all these things, or seeing the diamonds in the rough. And so I've had this subconscious sickness building, he's like my enabler.
Between, the upcycling and the copper pounding and the woodworking and the metalworking, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I think it's ideas, really. It's concepts. I was very pleased. The things I like the most don't do the worst on YouTube, like the Christmas tree. I found a Christmas tree on the street and dragged it home to the shop like a dead pig. And, and made it into a walking stick that had like a litter picker-upper feature in the bottom, and that was also because when we were kids, we'd get sticks and go on litter patrol and clean the neighborhood. But, so it's just finding uses. There's so much available. And it just works out that I'm, not loaded. So the price is right, I mean, and just new ways of thinking. I mean, and watching guys like, Izzy Swan or Matthias, making just these different new contraptions or ideas and really, starting from that, and then figuring it out so I guess I'm giving you a runaround here, but I think concepts are really what I enjoy. Concepts and free stuff.
Free stuff is good for sure. So I'm curious about how, like, your videos have a particular like visual style to them, like a kind of cinematic look. That's different than a lot of people. Do you have like a background in photography or videography, or where does that come from?
Well, my buddy went to the same school while I was attending SVA. He was in the film program, and so I learned a lot from him, not only building props and learning about basically photographing them and working within those sorts of parameters. And that got me interested in cinematography. And also, one of the things that I was hesitant about was looking like Jimmy. I'm in his house making videos. And so for a while, a few times he's like, dude, make a video of that. And it's like, nah, I'm in your shop. It's your brand. I just felt like it was too close. And he goes, you'll figure it out, make it, you'll find your own style. And, so then at first it was simple with just different lighting and that, and now I think we've kind of, branched off a bit, but I was definitely reluctant for that reason.
I'm assuming Jimmy is just using the ambient shop lights.
I'm lazy. Yes, I'm lazy.
And yours seems to have like it's a little bit more dramatic with a dark background and almost like a shadowy spotlight on some of your things. And I think instantly I was able to see a complete difference between the two videos. And I'm like, that dude's got some style.
That's cool because I'm so lazy. Sometimes I'll be shooting something and Dave will just kind of wander by and look in the camera and I'll be like, dude, get the lights. And I'll be like, I'm almost ready to shoot. He goes, just get the lights. And so Dave will go and like unwrap the lights from whatever he was using them on because they're always like in one spot of the building or the other. And so he'll drag them in and go, look, doesn't that look much better? And I'm like, yes, it does.
Well, I follow your Instagram as well, David, and the photography on there is fantastic. And I find it really inspiring. You definitely have a good eye.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like to just wander and explore. It's a good way to kind of keep me healthy too. It's nice. I love this city because it's very diverse, of course, and all the stereotypes, melting pot, and all these things. But it's incredible. I mean, I can walk around this place bummed out, and it's like, and just see the way people live, how they're, I know some people that have like a suitcase and a few books, and they move around in different places in my neighborhood, and are like, are living the dream, that don't even want a place to live. Or there's a lot of inspiration and interesting things to find. There's a lot to explore around this town.
Yeah, so you got two Instagram accounts, and they both, you run the Diresta shop one, which has awesome photography, and then your personal. I just want to point that out to people.
Oh yeah,
they're both excellent. And
I think what happened was Dave was this was kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. I'm trying to remember the timing. Before Dave really kicked in his YouTube channel, he was really taking a lot of photographs. He got into a mood where he was taking a lot of pictures, and I just kind of suggested, I'm like, hey, if you want a subject, you could just keep taking pictures of me because I'm so vain. So if you want to just keep taking my picture. And no, that's kind of obviously a joke, I think. But the idea was,
I can just picture every time he sets up a shot, Jimmy just like jumps in front of the camera. He's like, "Oh, hey, look where I am!"
I'm shooting him right now.
Yeah, I have 2 GoPros on my hat, clipped on my visor. No, the idea is that because I put up so much stuff on my Instagram, I noticed some of the stuff where I was kind of in the pictures got a little bit of a reaction, like, "Oh, cool, we get to see what you're doing." And so that was the idea, is that Dave would run this Instagram, which would just be kind of like a bird's eye point of view of me, like holding a tool, because usually I'm like holding the camera in my own Instagram and never holding a tool. So that was the idea. And Dave kind of really started getting creative with that, and then slowly started doing videos. So every once in a while we come up with a funny picture for the Diresta Instagram, although we don't do it all as much as we did in the beginning, because now we're both really busy doing, whatever is in the shop.
Yeah.
And so now Dave has really kind of gotten himself into his videos, which is great to see. So.
Yeah, speaking of like what you guys are working on in the shop, David, are you taking on like your own, commission type work from people, or are you mostly?
I am. I'm actually right now. I'm working on air compressor armpit farts. I've got a range.
That's on our Periscope, actually.
I've got a range of about an octave. It's getting better. I've nailed jingle smells on camera.
That was really good.
So that, and then I also have, I can't really elaborate because I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but a gentleman from the Upper East Side, actually, here's a good connection. Sorry, my headphone just fell out here. We're kind of sharing, so, okay. A gentleman hired me. He acquired a patent for this gizmo, if you will. I'm building it all out of mild steel, and I'm building the proof of concept.
How did he find you, by the way?
He found me. Sorry, I got a little flustered there with my headphone dropping. He watched my YouTube videos.
Really?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
And it wasn't like a cold call. It was a recommendation from a friend who goes, I know this local guy. Here's reference. You can see some of his projects. So he flipped through and watched a few videos. We met. We spoke and struck up a deal. So,
awesome.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It's a functioning object, and it's going in stages. So, like I said, this is just the initial proof of concept. So it's great. Jimmy's been amazing. He's let me do. I've got photo shoot, prop work, and all kinds of different projects, smaller things that I'll bring
once in a long while, I'll be offered a project that I either don't want to do because I don't like the people involved, or logistically it's difficult, and I'll just say, Dave, if you want this job, just take it and you do it, and you could use the truck or whatever if you need. And once in a while he'll take it, but usually he's in the same line with me. He's like, no, that guy's an idiot. I don't want to work for him either.
And David, are you doing this work in Jimmy's shop?
Yes.
Is there any kind of scheduling conflicts?
No, Dave's working on the welding table, and like if I needed to jump in, he would just move out of the way. But right now, I'm working on all day today. I'm working on the draw knife. Yesterday, we both had to take a break from what we were doing and do an installation at the pretzel shop all day for most of the day. So we both kind of had to get back on track together.
No, it actually works out really well because I'll be on the bench grinder, and then Jimmy mans the tripped breaker, and he can flip it back on, and then we'll switch.
For some reason, one of the circuits in our shop keeps overloading too fast. It used to take a lot longer, so we just got to change the breaker. So, like, I'll be air grinding, and Dave will be sanding, and then the lights go out. We both look at each other, and we wait for the other guy to move. It's like the guy who turned on the last machine is the loser.
I'll get it.
Because it's all the way in the front of the building, which is a kind of a walk in the dark.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's funny, like when the lights go out, like if there's 4 people in the shop, we all just look at each other, and it's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it.
That's awesome.
It's like when you have a family of people and there's dog poop, you all pretend you don't see it. You just wait for someone to
cat puke here in the house.
Yeah, same here.
So David, like, what's your do you have any kind of like plan with the YouTube stuff going forward as far as like the types of stuff you want to add that you haven't done yet, or?
Well, I mean, it's fairly organic. A lot of it, every bit of trash that I find, everything is all real. I carry my camera with me, and so I will stumble on something and just set up a quick shot and even shoot. I have stuff on my hard drive now that I've found and just it hasn't come up as far as I haven't dealt with it yet. I haven't used it. But I have that initial sequence of me finding it. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit organic in that sense, depending on what people leave on the street. But I certainly would like to explore a bit more woodworking. I haven't hand cut my dovetails yet. So there's,
you're not in the dovetail club.
Not yet. No, I don't have my badge.
Me either.
I I haven't done it on camera, but so I thought it'd be fun to put a twist on that. I have a few ideas to put a little twist in there, not in the board, but the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'd like to. I mean, it's pretty organic, and again, I mean, I think I keep going back to this, but like watching you guys and other people really keeps my brain moving. I like to stay hungry and be inspired and learn things, and it's really cool to watch the way other people are doing things or how they're thinking. And I think that just keeps a momentum, in your gray matter somewhat.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a bunch of new channels that I've heard about in the last maybe week or 2 weeks or so and they're small, but they're people that have said, like, I never thought I would make videos. And then from watching so-and-so, now I've decided that I'm going to start making videos. And it's awesome to see it like spreading, and people are just experimenting and they're trying things out. So that's great. And it's awesome to see that that you went down that path and now it's like paying off for you. I mean, in real world work, on top of just the YouTube stuff itself. That's
totally
fantastic.
Yeah. It's like when people constantly say, it's funny. I mean, I get calls from TV producers and this, that, and, and then also people that own bars. And it's so nice to be able to say, oh, just Google me and you'll figure it out. Like, can you send me some work? I'm like, just Google me and you'll figure it out. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they'll call me like, oh my God, you're insane.
No, that's the thing.
Thank you very much.
YouTube, for me, I've noticed it's like a live resume, because it's always been a major problem for me it's really hard for me to present myself on paper. I mean, everyone's, on a resume, we're all good problem solvers. We're all timely. We're all good with Microsoft Word. I mean, it's just very vague and bland. And so this is a way, to really show some real-time problem solving. I think it's an interesting new take on the resume, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good thought. I never thought of it that way.
Instagram too. I constantly tell people, like, how do I get my work out there? I said, Taylor is my biggest example. She started getting work because of her Instagram. I said, just start an Instagram, don't post pictures of stuff that's not your work. Just post pictures of your work, focus it on the things you want to try and sell and the things you want to promote. And people will start to react to it, and friends of friends. How many times do we put up pictures on Instagram and then somebody tags somebody else in it? And you have no idea who the person is or the person they tag. Mm-hmm. You don't know. You don't know what potential either one of them have as a client. So it's a perfect example. The more you put out, the more you'll get back. Yeah,
definitely. I agree with you on Instagram, but David's totally right that the video end of things is a much maybe more honest, even though it's edited, and it is still produced. It's probably a more honest picture of like your skill set and like what you're capable of and how you want to tell a story. Because anybody could set up a photo to look like you know what you're doing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the video stuff, like, somebody actually watching you do a thing and seeing the end result of it, even in a time compressed manner, is a much better indication of like what you're really capable of. Not that that's the only way to do it, but you're totally right in that it's really good for that.
There's a rumor that the two of you did a job for a certain celebrity. Do you care to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. I think I might have mentioned it a couple weeks ago. That's funny. And this is the fabled story of the red shirt. Dave knows a little bit more of the details of it because I kind of blocked them out. But I'll tell you the quick how. People always want to know. I worked for Leonardo DiCaprio for the summer of 2009 quite a bit. We did a lot of things in his apartment. And the way that came about was one of my interior decorators got the job to do a model apartment down at the River House. And the River House is this like modern, it's supposed to be all green apartment building. It didn't create emissions and it had a green roof and all this other stuff. So it was, and Leonardo DiCaprio being in that frame of mind was attracted to the building, and he became one of the early adapters to, or buyers of the building. So when the building was ready, Leo was going to move in, and this apparently was news, but I didn't know it. And so me and my interior designer, and I think Dave, you helped a little bit with that apartment. We did one of the model apartments. And then right next to our model apartment, Tom Felicia from Queer Eyes, he did the model apartment. beside it. So we had 2 model apartments in this whole building complex that was slightly different. Ours was more clean and sleek, and Tom Felicia's looked like a carnival in the back of an 18-wheeler crashed into a building.
How do you really feel?
I'm not even joking when I say this. He had live edge boards screwed across a brand new giant window on the 10th floor of a building.
Maybe he hates light.
Maybe. I'm like, oh, you're going to screw those like 10-inch wide live edge boards that are like 8 feet wide. So it looked like you were inside of like an abandoned shack, like about to get shot, strapped to a chair. I'm like, you really going to, okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing here.
Edgy theme.
He saw me and he right away, he goes, oh, wow, you seem like you're handy, whatever. And he was actually very funny, Tom Felicia. We spent some time together because he invited me. He spoke to my decorator and said, I need hand. And so she introduced me to him and we hit it off right away. And then I helped him in that model. So I was working in both of them. But one of them was kind of our styling and one was his. I was just helping him as a handyman. And so then a couple of months later, I get a call from my decorator. She goes, guess what? I go, what? She goes, Leo likes our model apartment and he wants to do a lot of things just like the way we did them. It's like, awesome. That's great. Nice. So, eventually I went up and I met him. He was super nice. We were in his apartment. It was just all sheetrock walls. There was nothing in there. And he was super cool. Like I tried not to act stupid. And so I went and shook his hand. I said, hello.
I love you, Leo.
He was so normal. I mean, obviously he's extremely successful, but he was he doesn't have a care in the world because obviously, he has everything he might ever want. But
firm handshake too.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, and he's looks you in the eye, and he's very honest, and he's very cool. I mean, I have nothing but nice things to say about him. And as a client, he was easygoing. And his mother, who was also part of the design process, was super sweet. And his mother was an immigrant that kind of came from nothing, and she told us her story, and she was super sweet. I spent some time alone with her in the apartment while we were making decisions, and so. Anyway, we did his bedroom, and then we did some stuff in the kitchen. We did some stuff in the dining room. All just like kind of little things, nothing huge. It wasn't like a makeover in the kitchen, but we made a table in the corner that worked with the appliances, and so then it came to we did the roof deck, and he said, "Hey, can we do a roof deck up here?" And I'm like, "Sure." So we looked at it, and we came up with some designs and some materials with the interior designer. She was the catalyst for the whole thing and the designer. I was just offering what I know I could do. And we were working with it. And we came up with this whole roof deck system, which basically was going to be about 8 sections, about the size of a small refrigerator. And they would all get pieced together on the roof and make up a deck that was probably about, I can't remember, it was about 12 by 12 feet, maybe 12 by 18 feet. So each piece was about 4 or maybe about 6 feet by 2 feet wide, something like that. So I can't remember, but it was about 8 pieces that were about 20 inches deep, or rather 20 inches high. And we screwed them all together, and then we put planks across the whole top. So I made the whole thing modular so that we could bring it to the building. Each piece fit in the elevator, went up to the top floor, and then we had to carry it into his apartment and then up his private bulkhead to the roof. And so it was the 2 days before July 4th because he was having a July 4th party, so everything had to be done on this day. And it was down. We woke up that morning, loaded the truck, it downpoured like cats and dogs. Oh, and I'm remembering it now. It's starting to come back to me. We were waiting for the phone call when all his buddies were going to be out of the apartment. Mm-hmm. Right? Something like that. I remember sitting in the car just waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And we had 3 carloads of things. Like my truck was too small to carry everything we needed. And I'm in the Lower East Side, and this was sort of in Battery Park City. It's like a 2-mile ride, but it's a different world. And so we had to go over with 3 loads of stuff. And the first carload, I remember we were just sitting and waiting for the phone to ring so that we can get the okay to go up into the apartment. And we got the okay, and then we went up into the apartment, and like Elijah Wood and a couple of other actors were all hanging around. Other like familiar faces were like watching, I don't know, was that Netflix in 2009? Because they were all huddled on the couch watching TV. And Dave and I were like walking by like sweaty animals because it was like 110 degrees out. And we're walking past this like TV room that I built. I built like the cabinets and everything in the TV room, and these guys are all just huddled up on the couch in blankets because the air conditioning was like 50 degrees. And Dave and I were walking by carrying these things like the size of refrigerators made out of like treated lumber.
Yeah, it was pressure treated framing, which is wet and
it was
heavy
wet.
As can be
way
on its
heavy.
own. Mm-hmm. And then decked in Trex, the plastic.
Yeah, we had Trex
composite
around the skirts of each piece, 20 inches high, so that when we got on the roof, then we would put Trex across the whole top. So I had all the Trex parts cut to fit, so we didn't have to cut anything. We just had to assemble.
And then we filled it all with sand.
No, and we carried them up. We carried each piece up the bulkhead, and then Dave always jokes. He said he never thought that I was going to die until that moment.
That actually, it freaked me out. There's the look on his face. It was insane because the bulkhead went up, and then there was a landing and this goofy high rail that we had to go over. So we switched. One guy would get the high side, and you had to lift this thing up over your head. And we just made it full extension. And Jimmy's like, I'm trying to think of ways to describe it so it makes sense audibly. But and still be family friendly here. It was just this look of stress and fear and hunger and sweat, just all these things rolled up.
Because there was all this pressure on top of us. The decorator said it has to be done on this day. And then now all of a sudden I'm like, if this first piece doesn't fit up and over the bulkhead, that means all 8 of these pieces are going to have to be cut in the street to fit and then reassembled up on the deck, which is a whole, literally a half a day's worth of work I didn't have scheduled. And so anyway, we were able to make the turn without bouncing off the walls, which was the big problem because there's a beautifully perfect sheetrock stairwell.
Yeah,
and we
went
up,
operation.
And these things weighed probably 150 pounds each.
More than that. No, they had to be.
Yeah, they were heavy.
It was crazy.
So we got them up and over, and we got the whole deck put together. And so our day started at 6 in the morning, and it ended at maybe 8 at night. I remember the sun was just going down.
Yeah, and then the clouds parted for a little while, and we were on our home stretch, and we had, we each had a bar of soap, and we were and stainless screws, and how you butter them up to get them to go.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. So, all the tracks were being put in with stainless steel screws, so they wouldn't leave a stain. And we had bars of soap, and we were buttering them up so that they would.
So they would slide, and so the thing was getting slick, and even to establish the footprint of this thing, there were weeds, and there was stuff growing, and
because there was a green roof, so there was tons of plants on the roof, and we had to put the deck down on top of the plants.
And so we're spelunking with claw hammers, and
we're pulling trees out of the ground with claw hammers just to make room. So the deck wasn't buried in; it wasn't like we were out in someone's backyard. We were on a roof of a building. So it was.
So it was a long, treacherous day, and things. We prevailed.
The thing was that we both had on red shirts for some reason. So the red shirt became our good luck shirt. Dave's wearing one.
This is the same one.
He has the same exact one from 2009. I had made a bunch of shirts in class. I taught students how to do silk screening, so I happened to buy red shirts from Walmart or something. So I made a bunch of shirts, and we both had one that said Diresta on them. And it was before I established my logo. So if you see this logo, it's like a steel beam with the word Diresta in it. I just took it off of the internet, and I put my name instead of what it said. And as we were leaving, Leonardo DiCaprio was there in his bedroom, which he was kind of putting his watch on or whatever. We walked by the room. He wasn't there all day. He wasn't there at all. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Well, I was told to have the deck up there by now." He goes, "Is it there?" I go, "Yeah, we just spent the entire day putting it up." He goes, "No way! Can we go look at it?" And so we went up and looked at it, and it was pouring rain out. It was me and him and Dave. And do you remember that?
He did a little Irish jig on the thing.
Yeah, he had his arms out like he was in the front of the Titanic. He goes, "I can't believe this looks amazing." I said, "Oh wow, I'm so happy you like it." I almost killed myself. I said 3 times. I almost jumped over the side.
Just didn't stop walking.
And then at one point, Dave dropped a 12-foot by 6-inch wide board down the elevator shaft from the 6th floor. We were carrying them out like this out, and one of them slipped out of his hands and fell down the elevator shaft. It was one of those there was a long pause, and then we heard it hit the bottom. And this building is a brand new building, and they just
we thought it was going to wedge the elevator up or something.
Man. And Dave said, "What did you say to the super?" You go, "I have to go into the basement to see if everything's all right."
Yeah, we checked on it.
So Dave went down to the basement with the super and came back up with the plank.
Yeah, we got it.
Nice.
He was a nice guy, yeah.
Recovery.
Yeah, so the red shirts, we're going to be offering them on Diresta's website soon. They'll be on my store.
Nice.
Good luck, red shirts.
Yeah, luck not included.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of the most stressful days that together I've ever actually had in general, besides another day, which we'll tell in a different podcast.
But stressful. But the lesson learned is that you made it through, and everybody was super happy, and it was successful, right?
You know what? I mean, what probably would have alleviated the stress that we went through that day, especially me, was that if we would have made it a 2-day build. We did it all within one day. And Dave and I we like to say, like, we're going to do it. We always call it a bank robbery.
It's like a heist,
a perfectly orchestrated heist. Like, when we get in and do something, we're not going to leave like a milk crate full of tools in the corner and our shoes and like, a lunchbox. No. We go in, we do something, and then we leave. And like, hopefully
no tracks.
We take everything with us. We bring a broom if we have to, but we go in, we do what we got to do, and we split. And that was one of those days. But there was including the rainstorm and the fact that I had to drive and the fact that like we had to wait to hear if all the coast was clear. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, we were waiting for you to be. He goes, I wouldn't have cared. You could have come up here and worked, but because he's such a celebrity, everybody kind of treats him with kid gloves, and they're afraid to insult him. When I got to know him, at least in that little few minutes I hung out with him, and he was just like, no, do whatever you got to do. I mean, that's what he said to me. I don't know if he told the decorator, no, I don't want anybody here. But there was like that little miscommunication, which like kept giving us like blocks of time where we were just waiting for no reason. So, and then I just kept stressing that we weren't going to have enough time to finish. And then when we went upstairs and things almost didn't fit into the hallway upstairs, that was just a whole nother stress thing.
There were probably 4 years of jobs like that, right? I mean, that's one of the things that is interesting about working in the shop is that, everything has to come through that hatch in the street, which is about, I think, just over 49 inches corner to corner.
Mm-hmm. You could just fit a sheet of plywood out. You can't put if you screw 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood together, you couldn't get it out that hole.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. We have the dance down. When we load in and out.
We can go up through the building with a lot much longer, wider things, but then my neighbors kind of spit at the ground when they see me. So I always try and go through the sidewalk as much as possible. That's kind of we call it like kind of the behind the scenes entrance.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. So, Welder, you're going to be at WIA this year, right? Are you going?
Yes.
We're going to drive out on a Thursday, I decided, because everyone keeps asking if I was going to be there on Friday, but I was just going to get a substitute. I was going to go after class, but now I'm going to we'll leave on Thursday, and we'll be there all day Friday and Saturday.
Sweet.
Yeah,
awesome.
It'll be cool to hang with everybody and, meet in real human life. It'll be awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm too. So for everybody listening, that is September 25th and 26th in Kansas City. And we're all going to be there, and a whole bunch of other people are going to be there, like a whole bunch. There's actually a list of everybody that's going to be there at videowoodworkers.com. Is that right?
That sounds right.
I think that's it. Go check that. If it's not that, that's probably an interesting site as well. But I think that's there's a list of everybody. It's a whole bunch of people.
Seems like everybody's going to be there. And people that aren't like signed up for the thing, I'm sure are going to be there as well. That are just come and hang out. So
yeah, we're just getting a booth, just a place to hang and meet people and talk and stuff. So like we said before, you don't have to pay for the whole conference, which I think is pretty expensive. But you can pay just like $10. I think it's even cheaper if you buy ahead of time. But you can buy just the ticket for the marketplace. And that's where like all the vendors are, and there's like tools you can look at and stuff you can buy and everything. And we will be there. So if you want to hang out with us, that's one way to do it. Mm-hmm. So what are we watching? What you guys been watching?
You go, Dave.
All right. So I'm going with Pat, the French Canadian, and his channel is called Le Pic Boy. And I don't know if you've seen his videos, but they kind of have like a heavy metal type edge to them. And he's wood turning and woodworking. They're really, really well done videos. His daytime job has something to do with television. So he has like these video skills, and they're so well done. He stopped by my shop the other day. He was traveling down from Quebec. Him and his girlfriend, they were checking out the U.S., and they stopped by. We hung out, ate some food, talk shop, good stuff. So please check him out.
Awesome.
He's an awesome guy, and his videos will blow you away, I promise.
Cool.
The Pit Boy?
It's LEPICBOIS, and that is French for the woodpecker.
Oh, cool.
We'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Cool. I've been watching Eric the Car Guy and my friend Jody Collier from Welding Tips and Tricks. jodiediresta.com. We've been talking a little bit through the internet, and we're going to try and start a salon a couple times a month where we kind of just get together and talk about ideas, behind the scenes. So I've been just catching up on what those guys are up to. Eric the Car Guy and Welding Tips and Tricks by Jody Collier. So both very skilled, good YouTubers, very successful YouTubers, and good guys.
I was really hoping you were going to start doing people's hair there for a minute. Said salon.
Yeah, really no, you know what I mean? The first time I heard the word salon, I was like, I didn't understand what it meant. But it's just a place to just get together and share ideas. And the fact that we're all three such different YouTubers, we might cross-pollinate and come up with some good stuff. And just to help each other. And then I'm sure that's going to grow. It was Jody's idea, and he reached out to us. And Jody's a great guy. I'm so happy to get to know him personally.
Maybe some cornrows.
Yes.
You got enough hair. Why don't you show everybody your hair?
They can't see it. This is radio.
Yeah, well, show these guys your hair. Show how far down it goes. Stand up.
I'm going to lose my headpiece. This thing's so hard to deal with.
Dave's hair's like 40 inches long.
Here it comes.
Did you guys ever see when, who's the guy, Jason Newsted, when he swings his head around? Yeah.
It's not that long. There you go.
Dave's got Jason Newsted hair. Look, it goes out of frame.
Look at those beautiful locks. Yeah.
Wait, there it is.
His hair goes out of frame.
No, it's under my belly button.
Yeah.
Made it myself.
David, do you have any conditioner tips for our listeners?
Yeah, man. Just, I would say rinse and repeat. It's on the bottle, but it never, it's tried and true.
If you have baby hair like me, don't tussle it too hard. It falls out.
Yeah. With Jimmy, you got to be careful putting that ball cap on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make Diresta caps with bangs in them, so when you put them on, it looks like you have hair sticking out the front.
Instead of the mullet caps, you got the bang caps.
It's gonna have bang caps. I said that a couple days ago.
This little wispies will get jealous.
David, do you have any YouTube channels to recommend?
I'm watching a lot of other things. I watch the makers, but there's a channel, Big Think, that's very interesting. I love SciShow. I have quite a wide variety of things that inspire me and just kind of keep me sort of hungry and curious. But definitely Big Think is interesting. They do a bit with, they have bits where they'll have a kid ask a question. Like actually this week, the last one was they asked Bill Nye, a kid asked, what about hydraulic knees? And so they just talk and contemplate these different things and philosophies and what have you. So yeah, Big Think is pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, I have a recommendation, but then also a little follow up from a couple weeks ago. So I saw this video today, and it's only interesting to me because it's part Star Wars and part electronics stuff. Because I'm like, right now I'm inundated with LEDs and boards and all the stuff that I'm working on. So I found this video. I don't know how I found it today. It's called Darth Punk, The Funk Awakens. And it's this, it's like this, kind of techno song music video is what it is. But the two main characters, so there's this girl who's like a Jedi, and then there's a Boba Fett with a gold helmet and a Darth Vader with a silver helmet. And they're like Daft Punk style LED explosion. And so this video is just crazy lights and effects everywhere, and everybody is like wrapped in LEDs, and their shoes blink when they walk, and it's just really awesome to look at. But it looks like something came straight out of Adafruit, like all the LEDs and everything. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. So I've been watching that. But the follow up, remember when we were doing the question and answers? Josh asked us about pineapple.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so after we talked about that, then he sent me a link. I know Josh. He sent me a link. Why does pineapple irritate your mouth? And it's actually a thing. Oh. I'm going to give you the really boring short answer. Pineapples contain a plant protease enzyme called bromelain. It's used as a meat tenderizer, and it may induce a prickly sensation in the mouth when consumed.
Oh, awesome.
Wow, that's exactly why I don't eat pineapples.
So, even though I thought he was crazy,
sometimes fried eggs make my mouth itch, but I don't know if that's related.
That sounds like an allergy. Only fried eggs? Not like eggs?
Yeah, maybe it's the oil.
It's probably the gallon of hot sauce you put on everything.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Well, so now we have the pineapple thing solved. Yeah, so I guess that's it for us. Where can we find out about everybody?
I want to promote my book. It is coming out. I should. It's coming out September 15th. And it'll be available in all the major bookstores and woodworking stores. It's called The New Bandsaw Box Book, presented by the Drunken Woodworker. And we're going to put a link in the show notes for you to pre-order it on Amazon. I am going to sell a few copies from my website. I'm going to do a limited signed copy. And then once those are gone, that's it. I won't sell anymore. I actually make more money if I sell the book myself, but I don't want to be involved in all the shipping. So I'm going to direct everybody to Amazon. So we'll put a link in the show notes.
Are you still going to bring those to WIA?
I think I'm going to have them ship a box over to WIA and have them there. Yes. So I should have them.
Would you be offended if I made a bandsaw box out of your book?
That would be amazing. That would just blow my mind. Please do.
Cool.
Out of copper.
Out of
Copper and an umbrella.
Done.
Yeah, sweet.
Before we move on, can we talk about something about your name change?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. You want to give us a lowdown on that?
Yes. So, for the past 3 years, I've been known as the Drunken Woodworker. And I just did an official change on my YouTube channel, and I changed it from the Drunken Woodworker to Make Something. And the reason for that is high school kids have been making my boxes and in their classes, and I've been getting emails and letters from kids, thanking me and asking me questions. And it just didn't feel right anymore to be called the Drunken Woodworker. It was kind of embarrassing, actually. And the whole name started as a joke. I'll save that story for another time. So I'm officially changing everything from the Drunken Woodworker to Make Something, which probably is going to upset my publisher since the book is called The New Bandsaw Box Book by the Drunken Woodworker. But anyway.
That's what made me think of it. But yeah.
Yes.
You should start 2 channels. You should just put on a wig or something and be the Drunken Woodworker, and then be yourself for Make Stuff.
Jimmy, stop trolling me.
All right. So where can we find you guys?
I am at jimmydiresta.com, toybacker.com, and Google.
Yes, let's talk about the toy backer thing.
Yeah,
the toy backer thing is doing well, actually. Dave made Spike, and we added it to it. Carlos pushed us to make a little update video. Carlos is the owner of toybacker.com and the brainchild behind the figure. And so we put the video up just yesterday, which just kind of gives us an update. And Dave was the puppeteer. And it was funny. We did 40 takes of that, and it would be funny one day to just put all the takes up in a row of us trying to do that thing where his hands as Spike are on camera.
I prefer the term puppeteer.
Dave Spike's puppeteer. So we're at 60%. Actually 62%, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great. So thank you all very much for that.
Yes.
I want to point out that Jimmy is not being vain or selfish by releasing this toy. This toy is actually for good use, right? You want to open up a retreat shop for teaching and learning.
Well, the way it came about is Carlos said, hey, let's make a figurine of you. You have so many fans, they would love to buy them. I'm like, they probably wouldn't want to see me brag about myself and say, everybody buy a figure of me. I said, there has to be a reason. And at the same exact time, Taylor and I were coming up with this idea to do this thing. And either Taylor or Carlos came up with the idea of hey, why don't we just use this to raise the initial funds to get the architect drawings done and maybe get the site, excavated. So it's not a lot of money. I mean, I'll probably walk away with $25,000 if it works. But, again, that would just kind of fund the initial starting. And I know in my life, when I start a project, it gets done. When I don't start it, it's just one of those things in my notebook. So this is going to be to get the project started. Of course, it's a very minuscule amount of money when you're talking about building a building like I want to do. So, but it will get the ball rolling, and then it'll kind of force me to scratch up the rest of the funds.
I think it's such a beautiful thing.
What guys?
I really hope it works because I'm looking forward to swapping the heads of my Jimmy and my Spike figures.
It'd be funny if people could mold them and then they could sell them too. So that'd be great. Like a bootleg. figure. I'm going to do a video of me making a mold of it.
Do it.
Once I have an extra one.
Mine's going to be a pull string doll. I need to consult you guys on the electronics of how to like.
Dave keeps coming up with all the things that should say nothing. None of it is family friendly. So one of these days you'll hear like the electronics of Dave's interpretation of the dirty things that I say on a daily basis.
Well, Dave, where can we find out about you? All your stuff.
Check out my YouTube channel and my Instagram. They're both under the same name, David Welder, WAELDER. And I kind of, Instagram's just photos and a bit of my current happenings and some goofy nonsense. But yeah, please, thanks for the support. If anyone knows me who's listening, I'm having a blast, and I'm looking forward to more good times putting out videos and content.
Yeah, keep it
awesome. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for being on the show too.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hanging out in Kansas City.
Yep.
All my stuff is at iliketomakestuff.com as usual. You can find me on Twitter with I like to make stuff without 2 F's. So just 1 F. Twitter.
Last us off favors.
Cool. Well, that'll do it for us this week. And I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you all very much.
Cool.
Later on.
See ya.